What's good, YouTube? I'm gonna be reacting to "She is Ruining Bill Belichick's Life." Now, if y'all don't know, Bill Belichick, yes, the Bill Belichick, has a 24-year-old girlfriend. Apparently, he's um apparently planning on marrying this lady. Me personally, I don't got a problem with it. Bill probably just ran that game, and got rewarded. Basically, that's what it sounds like. So yeah, let's get into it. I still don't know very much about the situation, so I'm not gonna speak on it too much.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview. No. It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan.
So the latest update on the Bill Belichick situation is absolutely insane, and I wanted to say before we get to the content, I really didn't want to make this video, primarily because out of my last videos over the past 2 weeks, this is easily the lone. But this update is just so insane that I really couldn't just let it go without bringing it to you guys. So if you guys don't like this topic, my apologies. We have another very good video for you guys tomorrow. But for those of you guys that don't know where we're at with this situation, pretty much about 2 years ago, Bill Belichick went viral for leaving an Airbnb and getting caught on a Ring camera, pretty much doing.
Yo, bro, that's wild. That is I have not seen this at all, bro. I did not know Bill Belichick was a freaky man like this, bro. This man's outside of, like he's outside of his element. Like he did something that he shouldn't have been doing. It looks like it's overcast clouds. This looks like it's about 35 degrees outside. He don't got no shirt on. This is how you could tell a true freak right here. Wow. I can't believe this.
The walk of shame when he was in Nantucket. Fans were speculating where he was leaving. We eventually found out that Belichick was dating a 24-year-old woman by the name of Jordan Hudson. And while it was peculiar and really easy to roast Belichick for this, and believe me, some of his former players would roast him for this.
Now I know why you were so obsessed with Foxborough High School. You were scouting your new girlfriend.
At the end of the day, if it's a consensual relationship between two adults, you really can't say much about it. Bill Belichick's a legend. Jordan is from Massachusetts, so I could also understand the allure of dating a football coaching legend. And the story would start out in a pretty cute way. Originally, we thought that these two met on a plane, talked to each other about deductive logic, and Belichick would autograph Jordan Hudson's logic book, saying, "Jordan, thanks for giving me a course on logic, safe travels, Bill Belichick," and then would list all the Super Bowls that he would win underneath.
Nah, you gotta respect it, bro. You gotta respect it. I know it's a little bit weird. He's in his 70s, I think, and she's 24. So she's 4 years older than me. I'm 20. I just turned 20 years old. That is kind of crazy to think about. But you gotta respect the game, bro. You gotta respect the game. Like, he was probably beside her, noticed her when she walked up. She noticed he was Bill Belichick, so she already knew what it was, and he just capitalized off the opportunity, bro. And he, probably got her number after this. You know what I'm saying? So you really can't hate on Bill. You really can't.
His name, which I think is probably the craziest flex and probably the most impressive riz I've ever seen a man lay.
That's very
Shortly
impressive.
after, we'd find out that these two would become romantic. At Tom Brady's Patriots Hall of Fame induction, she would write a wildest congratulations to Tom Brady, and then behind Bill Belichick's back, literally would write the text, "You are the embodiment of virtue, dedication, humility, and grace. I am deeply moved by you." I don't know if she's talking about Tom Brady still at this point or Bill Belichick, but regardless, these two's relationship would become fairly public. And as a result, you'd get some pretty interesting commentary about it.
If she's having fun...
Not in the bedroom, he's not. There's only so much Viagra in the world.
But we'd see plenty of
that's just straight hating. They're just mad that Bill don't want them. They're just mad that they can't get no Bill Belichick. They're mad that he don't want to run that game on them. Because Bill Belichick clearly got game, bro. He clearly was running that. He was scheming, bro. So that sounds like just straight salty hating, bro, to me.
these two just living life. And honestly, I really didn't see the significance in any of this. Like, this is Jordan and Bill Belichick walking on the street. This is Jordan and Bill Belichick walking onto a yacht. Jordan's fans think that she's doing this for fame. Maybe the last one's
Probably
a
a
little
little bit.
much, but I honestly didn't see much of a problem with this relationship. And to be honest, I felt a little weird every time I made a video on it. Until the last video where things got a little strange. As you guys know, over the spring, we'd find out that no NFL team wanted to give Bill Belichick a head coaching gig, which was very strange. So ultimately, Bill decided to take his talents to college football and team up with Michael Lombardi to try to resurrect UNC football, which I think is a pretty interesting move for him, considering that he is arguably the greatest NFL coach of all time, without a doubt, at the very minimum in the top 3. And then the footage of these two would continue, and in my opinion, wasn't really that significant. I mean, here's Bill Belichick and Jordan at a UNC game. Here's Jordan wearing one of Bill Belichick's Super Bowl rings. Here's Bill Belichick doing some form of yoga with Jordan and having it posted on Instagram. So this relationship is fairly public, and they are definitely throwing it in people's faces. Is it a little unusual? Absolutely. Not only because of the age gap, but primarily the one thing that is strange to me is Bill Belichick has never been a public guy. So having a post on Instagram of him doing Pilates is a little un-Belichick-like.
Yeah, like that's why it's so just confusing, because Bill is such a quiet, just low-key dude. Like, you would expect him to have like some wife his age, you know, like she don't talk very much. You know, you see them, you know, they bring casserole to the cookouts and stuff like that. He got probably like 6 or 7 adult children. But hearing this, it's crazy. It's crazy. I did not expect it to be like this for Bill.
Would get
not that it's bad though.
Extreme. Bill Belichick seems very happy at camp.
Good call, Bobby. You're getting those. You're getting a lot of those. Like, damn near every call you make's a good call. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I thought was very odd was the fact that his girlfriend was on the sidelines pacing back and forth in a very interesting outfit with Bill Belichick. And this also rubs some people the wrong way, because what is your girlfriend doing at practice over the spring in your first year at UNC? The old Bill Belichick would think that this is a huge distraction, and it would get way stranger from here. We find out that Jordan Hudson is heavily involved in managing Bill Belichick at UNC. So first we'd find this email from Bill Belichick asking Robbie Pickerel if he can CC his girlfriend on this email so she can keep up with our postings, and can you include her on anything you send me? Thank you. And then we'd find out that it got even stranger. Matt Baker of The Athletic would obtain emails sent and received by Jordan, and in the email her signature identifies her as the Chief Operating Officer of Belichick Productions, even though there's no business registered in that name. And this title helps explain her role. For example, she was the one negotiating with NFL Films over featuring UNC on Hard Knocks. But unfortunately for us, we're not going to see UNC on Hard Knocks offseason, which, given all the craziness that's coming out, I'm really bummed out about. Secondly,
I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to sound like she's running that game on him. It's starting to sound like he didn't run the game on her. She probably plotted on him. Cause damn, he already got her in like these management positions. Damn. Nah, that kind of just changed my whole outlook on this whole situation. She probably was sitting next to him and then ran that game on him. And he thinks he actually she actually likes him, but she might just be trying to climb the ladder, bro. Damn. I hope that's not reality, but that's what it's starting to look like.
We'd find out that Belichick and Jordan Hudson are very sensitive about the criticism of Belichick on the UNC football page. An email shows her asking if anyone is monitoring the football page for slanderous commentary, and subsequently deleting it / blocking users that are harassing Bill Belichick in the comments. Third, she asked the school's media team to display greater sensitivity to the inherent nepotism associated with Belichick's decision to hire his own son Steve to work work as the school's defensive coordinator. Personally, to me, I think it's just silly because Belichick did hire Steve as one of his defensive assistants when he was in New England, and he already was very reputable in college football before Belichick hired him. But Jordan goes out of her way to say, though Steve Belichick is Bill's son, he should be depicted and represented as his own established, credible entity as opposed to an extension of Bill. It can be easily misinterpreted that Steve is simply benefiting from nepotism, but that is not the case. Steve was fortunate to have learned defensive football strategy from the greatest defensive football mind of all time. He has earned his position due to his performance and output. It's really worth emphasizing the point that Steve has the experience of being a college defensive coordinator and will bring a plethora of knowledge to the coaching staff. I believe being strategic about the depiction of Steve will prevent controversy and show the utmost respect towards Steve's career and validate Bill's decision as a head coach to hire Steve. Are you sick of this storyline too? We're almost done, I promise. So that's where we would leave off, and honestly, I felt like, yeah, it's a little concerning and a little strange and kind of unlike Bill Belichick to do this. And then 2 weeks from our previous video, we would get an interview on CBS Sports, and this interview would go absolutely viral because it was super awkward. I mean, Belichick has always been pretty solid at handling the media and was notorious for his short answers.
To drop down to number 3 on the depth chart at the most important position and still beat a well-coached team that decisively, what does that say about just where your team is right now?
I don't know.
And he also did a wonderful job on the Pat McAfee show in his featured appearances in the past.
I think that's certainly a top need for him. It's quarterback, tackle, and wide receiver. Drake compares himself a lot to Josh Allen. He has been doing that for quite a while. We'll see about that. I think there are some similarities in size and athleticism. Josh Allen's a pretty special player now. So,
but this interview was handled pretty well by Bill Belichick until Jordan butted in.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
So that's a very interesting way of introducing his girlfriend, saying that she was a constant presence in the interview. And I think it's really,
you know what this is starting to sound like? This is starting to sound like some Travis Hunter situation. This is starting to sound like Bill Belichick's just the old version of Travis Hunter, but without like the crazy stuff. But you know, it's a similar situation. Like, it sounds like she's trying to get herself in certain positions by using Bill. That's what it sounds like, bro.
Important to pay attention to this because without that context, you might be wondering what the relevance of this question is.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks.
So you can see Belichick did a great job just deflecting that question and moving on from it. But this is where Jordan kind of messes things up.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
So you can see it was like a question that was kind of awkward for Bill Belichick, and it was pretty awkward that Jordan was interrupting him, and given the context of her being there and kind of trying to manage the conversation, you can kind of understand the reports that followed this. According to TMZ, Jordan Hudson was a nightmare during Bill Belichick's interview. She went completely off the rails during Bill Belichick's interview to the point where she stormed out of the room and delayed shooting for 30 minutes. Belichick agreed to do a sit down with Tony DeCupel of CBS Mornings to promote his new book, The Art of Winning, but it turned into an L, at least PR-wise, when his 24-year-old girlfriend interrupted the interviewer, asking Bill how they met. We're told outside of that baffling moment that made the final edit, there were numerous other instances of Hudson butting in. Even when the legendary coach was answering questions about football, she would stop and correct him. Our sources say Belichick only arrived at the interview with Hudson. No one from his publishing company, the University of North Carolina, or any other rep was with him, which was a bit of a head scratcher to CBS producers on set. At one point in the Q&A, Hudson got so heated she stood up and walked out and wanted Bill Belichick to follow. It's unclear if coach agreed, but the blow-up delayed the whole interview for about half an hour. We're told that once things calmed down, DeCupel, who was spooked by the whole encounter, elected to wrap up things quickly and end the awkward experience. So obviously,
yeah, bro, nah, that sounds wild. That sounds wild. I can't even believe Bill Belichick would even be in a situation like this, bro. That does not sound like Bill. Like, Bill Belichick don't put up with nothing. So for him to be putting up with her doing all this, Bro, she must. Oh my God, she must have did something to him, if you know what I'm saying. She must have, made him reevaluate. Make him, live life on the wild side a little bit more. What she put on him. Damn, that man Bill Belichick probably ain't had nothing like that in a while, and he got whipped. He got whipped, bro.
Be a bit of a
Damn.
problem because it seems like Bill Belichick is kind of where he's eating a little bit. But the article continues to say, as for how the dumpster fire of an encounter got edited, we're told the higher ups at CBS News and Sports had to get involved to figure out how to salvage it. And while a second interview was scheduled to go down at a later time, it was ultimately scrapped. But this is probably the most significant part, because for the very first time, we're getting word that UNC is kind of concerned about this relationship. So the whole ordeal also isn't sitting well with Bill's employers. We're told folks at UNC are now concerned about Hudson's influence on Belichick's tenure as the head football coach in Chapel Hill, especially with her essentially taking on a role as his manager. As a source put it, there's a growing sense that this could become a problem. And whether this statement is from a credible source or not, I mean, it's TMZ, so take it for what you think it is. That's not the craziest thing to suggest, because this could become a problem. It already kind of is becoming a problem. We've seen so many head coaches in NFL history, and none of them have their wives or girlfriends prancing back and forth in a practice field while they're doing their job in a pretty unique and distracting outfit. You don't typically see people's girlfriends showing up to their press events and telling them how they need to answer questions. Of all people that don't need help answering questions, Bill Belichick's at the very top. He's the king of not giving out information that he doesn't want out there. So the fact that Jordan is there and telling Belichick what to do is creating this PR nightmare for him, and I would be shocked if UNC wasn't concerned about this situation. Now, Jordan and Bill Belichick would release a statement about this situation in an email saying, "I don't think this is fantastic, but it probably will hype the book," which is clearly the ongoing theme here. This is about what I expected from the media. We went through how important it was for me to put "I f***ed up" in the book. And of course, that is the feature of this article, which is mostly about admitting mistakes and talking about a Super Bowl mistake. I'm fine with putting mistakes in the book, but I am certainly not surprised that of 260 plus pages, that is what they would highlight. And of course, the "I f***ed up" is the clickbait they used for the story. We'll see what the title of the article is, which I notice has been conveniently left out. Do we have approval on that? I would approve the article if we can approve the headline, which is actually more important than the article. We can expect that the interviews and podcasts that will supposedly drive the sales will also come from similar examples. These appearances will no doubt want to focus on whatever negatives they can extract from the book and all the current events that don't have anything to do with the book, but are most relevant to their ratings and their agenda, which is not mine. That was evident when Alarod dropped the story, because we would not do current events at UNC. We'll see how many people want to talk about the $5,000 bill for spoiled milk and other entertaining and business aspects of the book. I have no doubt that I f***ed will not be the main focus of Ray Diallo and Susie Welch in my conversations with them. I will say again that I want this book to be presented as a look at my professional life and how I did my job on the way up to and as the leader of the organization that grew from a $500 million franchise to an $8 billion organization that played in 10 and won 6 Super Bowls over 25 years. This book is about how I did my job and lessons from my 50 years in and around the NFL, not a bathroom book that highlights my mistakes. I acknowledge the mistakes of the book, but of course, "I f***ed up" is the catchphrase. I have at times reluctantly gone along with the title, cover, and language in the book. I'm not going to be the conductor of a hype train in the book promotion. We have enough hype to work with. I hope we can get on the same page in promoting the book authentically. Thanks, Bill Belichick. So it's really funny because the replies to this is, "I don't have to read it and know she wrote it and he watched. This doesn't say anything. Where did he meet Jordan?"
Nah, the internet is so negative, bro. Like, that's like the internet can read people so quickly. Like, I wasn't even gonna go there, but yeah, you can tell. Like, she was definitely watching over his shoulder with the gun to his head, bro, while he was typing that, bro. Like, let's be real. Those were her words, bro. This man, Bill Belichick, this man's in trouble, bro. This man's in deep trouble.
In question, not mentioning Jordan Hudson once in this is classic Bill. So fans just want answers in regards to how they met, but I'm gonna go a step further and say I don't think it's relevant. Some people are speculating that she's an alleged escort, but I'm not gonna go there because I don't think it's relevant. What I think is relevant is the fact that she's everywhere that she doesn't need to be. Bill Belichick has been fine doing his own interviews and his own press for years.
You know, I don't really know or care anything about social media. I don't even know what's out there or isn't out there, so that's irrelevant to me. But it doesn't
matter. We played football before there was social
Yeah,
media.
he only cares about
Didn't
football,
matter then
bro.
either.
I know you got a lot of stuff on your mind, but right now he's focused on Denver. Sorry we can't connect on that.
You're good at it, though.
You're the best.
All right, well, it's not obviously not too much to stay. Obviously, we didn't do anything well enough today to deserve to win, so.
And now bringing her along on set is coming off as a distraction, which is enough reason for people to be concerned because he's being micromanaged and he really doesn't need to be micromanaged. It's a very big year for Bill Belichick. It's year one in a brand new environment, coaching a different game, and this is just unneeded attention for him. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about the Bill Belichick situation? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
All right, it's gonna wrap the video up. But yeah, man, my like thoughts on this. Bill is just gonna be Bill. He's gonna live Bill's life. You know, he's gonna do what he wants to do. He doesn't really care about like social media all that much. So I don't think he really understands like how bad things can get. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, all he really cares about is football, bro. Like that's just the main point of what he's doing. So all this is really just extra background noise, to be honest. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the video, man. If you have not already, like and subscribe, bro. I'm out.